So I got this little blood pressure gizmo there. Because figure, you go to the Yankee game and, the beer is bad enough. And then, you got the salt in the hot dogs and the Aaron Judge 99 burger, which is like loaded with grease and trans fat there. And of course this thing here, which is like filled with French fries and chicken fingers. So it's a lot of salt going on there. So I figured want to, check the old blood pressure there because a lot of stuff going in. And of course those dipping dots can't be great either with you. So I figured check. Getting tighter. Getting tighter. That's really tight. It's starting to hurt. I don't know how long this thing goes for. Welcome to Section 420, Talkin Yankees. Well, the Yankees hit a brick wall against Boston, unable to beat their foes from Fenway in a big showdown in Yankee Stadium, which did not go the Yankees' way. And included that is Anthony Volpe, reaching a new low, where now he's even getting some boos from the hometown fans, so the hometown kid getting booed by the hometown crowd there. Not a good situation for him, not only at the plate, but of course in the field. We're kind of looking at his situation right now. And Jonathan Walizago looks like he's going to have to go under knife yet again after his coming back from a UCL surgery. Kind of give an update on his situation, but we also have a couple of Yankee relief pitchers working their way back. I'll give you an update on where they stand and their schedule to rejoin the team. And of course, in case you didn't see it of Paul Blackburn, the former Met who was DFA'd, Yankees kind of went to the Queens scrap heap there. I guess maybe on Northern Boulevard, there's a lot of junkyards. Picked up Paul Blackburn, so he joins the team. So I'll give you a little background on him if you're not too familiar with him. Again, he was with Oakland for a couple of years and pitching with the Mets there. And again, the Mets have their own problems, especially with pitching there. So the fact that they booted this guy off a terrible pitching staff probably tells you all you need to know there. But nevertheless, give you the background there as well. So again, the Yankees kind of slipping down there in the standings as well, not only in the AL East, but and the wild card. So maybe you might be losing hope there, but again, we have a little piece of August left as well as a whole month of September there. So I'll kind of walk you through the whole thing there. Kind of give you my feeling that still should be able to make the playoffs. I don't know. Maybe at the point now we may have to kiss the AL East goodbye there. I'm not going to officially do that yet there, but we'll look into the whole situation. But before we get started, make sure you subscribe to the audio podcast version of the show, Section 420 Talkin Yankees, the podcast. So wherever you get your favorite podcast, search it. I know it's a little shorter episodes, only maybe 7 to 8 minutes, so it's not like you have to listen to a whole 29-minute rant, which you're going to probably do right now. It's a little short episodes, get my takes quicker on things, whether it's a move, a bad game, something happened, new rule with Rob Manfred, anything like that, I'll react to it, get that notification right away. Don't have to wait a whole week for a new episode. And if you happen to be watching on YouTube right now, make sure you subscribe. And if you're watching on TV, you say, wow, this is great, but I don't have to wait a whole week for a new episode. I want to get it digitally right away. Subscribe to the YouTube channel, you'll get that. And of course, make sure you also subscribe to the audio podcast version of the show, Section 420 Talkin Yankees. So the Yankees gave us a little bit of a tease, which was going to happen. Of course, they had the Houston series. Okay, they dropped 2 out of 3 there, but then the schedule was going to get a little soft for a couple of weeks. And I kind of mentioned this a previous couple episodes ago, why at least I thought they could make a good push for the AL East, even though they were back 6.5 games there. Because again, their schedule was going to be significantly softer, especially as we go into September, and that's still the case there. And it's still the case why, again, I want to completely lose hope on them because I understand after this Boston series, you don't want to look at the team right now. Totally understandable, but the schedule does get softer for them. But it did also, in this point of August there, where you had 3 games against the Twins, which, look, we go back to 2002. The Yankees own the Twins. So they're here, playoffs, not playoffs. So you could book some easy wins there. And, of course, after that, they were going into St. Louis, yes, with the road team, but against a fourth-place Cardinal team there who got at this point really had much to play for there. And then 2 games, a kind of weird 2-game series against Tampa. Now, yeah, Tampa could be annoying, but it's also in the Yankees complex down there. So it's almost like a spring training home game for the Yankees. So you had a crop of games there where you figure the Yankees could at least, flex a little bit of muscle, crawl the way back, and that's exactly what they did, taking 2 out of 3 against the Twins there. Now, the final game they lost, they got shut down by Ryan there, which you would expect to happen. And a lot of fans were kind of like, well, if they sweep, I'll believe in them. If they lose that last game, I don't believe in them. It's kind of stupid. It's just 1 game there. So took care of busy. Okay, you win 2 out of 3, great there. Go to the Cardinals, you sweep all 3 of those games. And all those 3 games kind of had an interesting perspective on each stand. Again, if you're an audio podcast subscriber, you understand why. I'm not going to get to the whole thing yet there. But nevertheless, I felt, those are probably 3 games maybe the Yankees would have lost, before the trade deadline with some of the new acquisitions they had, will their way to get a sweep there. So you get those 3 games there, and of course you close out the 2-game sweep at home against the Tampa Bay Rays. Sorry, at Tampa, but technically it's the Yankees home. And of course the last game, a thriller there with the big Giancarlo Stanton pinch hit home run to put them ahead there. Okay, Devin Williams, major walked the tightrope a little bit, and again, I don't know why Boone did that, and we'll kind of discuss that a little bit later. But now that he got a good run where the Yankees win 7 out of 8 games, kind of get themselves in contention. They leapfrog Boston, at least not only in the AL East standings there, but also the Yankees had the top spot in the wild card, and you're starting to feel good about them, starting to believe it again. And then, of course, you have the series against the Red Sox. The Yankees are the home team. You figure, okay, now this is it. We got a revamped team. We had the trade. Some of these newer guys, up and down a little bit, but you figure, all right, this is how, this is the first team we're going to make a good stand against. And the Yankees lay a big egg, probably as big as an egg could get there. And it was really unfortunate because they had the lead in the first game there. And of course, not only the bullpen blow for them, but also some sloppy defense. 4 errors in the game, which is unexcusable. End up losing the first game by a score of 6-3 there. And of course, you have the second game, bit of an annoying tease there because it's a 1-0 nail-biting loss there, where you could have, again, it was 0-0, you're going late in the games. Max Fried finally gives you a decent outing there, even though he's only able to go 6 innings there. And you figure that's the game, maybe if the Yankees keep it 0-0, maybe have a walk-off home run or something like that. Not the case there. Boston takes a lead against the Yankee pen. You lose that game. And then, of course, the third game, the Yankees absolutely get their doors blown off, and Garrett Crochet just shuts them down. 7 innings, 11 strikeouts there, and the Yankees get blistered by a score of 12-1 there. And at this point, you don't even want to look at this team anymore there. This is absolutely horrible. So now it gets to the case there. What's it with this Yankee team? Are they legitimate, or is this the case they can only beat up on the bad teams? They can only beat up on the Twins. They can only beat up on a Cardinals team that's out of it, or a Tampa team that's out of it. And once you get good competition, like the Boston Red Sox, they get creamed. Or like the Houston Astros, they lose 2 out of 3. Or the series before that in Texas. Texas is like also fighting for the wild card team. I'll say they're a good team. They're probably just a little below a wild card team. They're still a good team. Yankees dropped 2 out of 3 there. So again, this kind of seems like the good teams the Yankees can't beat. But of course, these scrub teams, the Yankees destroy there. So what's the deal with this team? Well, that could be the case right now. And again, it's kind of makes you worrisome that if this team even makes the playoffs, how far did it go? That's an understandable there. But in terms of them actually making the playoffs, get a wild card spot, I still think you got that chance because, again, you still also have a lot of scrub teams coming up on this schedule there. You got 3 against the Nationals. You got 4 against the White Sox. And just like they did before there, if you pull in a good streak of 7 out of 8 games there, you could just as easily, as much as Boston's been slapping around the Yankees lately, and it's actually getting pretty bad. I mean, the Yankees have dropped their last 8 games to the Boston Red Sox going across the season there. But we'll kind of get that back in a second there. But again, if you put it, you could still leapfrog Boston in the AL East standing as well as the wild card stands right there and get yourself right into it. So all these people say that the season's over, turn it off, I'm not watching any more games like that. The Yankees have a good week. They'll be right back in the way they were against Tampa, against that, that second game against Tampa. Stanton hits that big home run. People are all coming right back in. So I wouldn't get buy in too much of that. But yeah, it is legit. This is a problem with this Yankee team right now. Again, they're playing down to the better teams, the teams they should beat. And Boston's not really a great team. I mean, them and the Yankees are pretty much even. Should be the case there. But it's not like, Houston, you can understand losing to a team like that. It's like that. But Boston Red Sox, I mean, if you look at their roster, I mean, they got a lot of good young talent there. But the Yankees shouldn't be struggling where you're losing 8 games in a row against them. And again, this looks like a total mismatch on the bases. Again, the Yankees is kicking the ball around, looking sloppy. Just again, and so it's a problem. Is it something with the teams? Is it Boone's fault? Is he not managing them right? Because if you look at the guys up and down the roster, I mean, it's a good team. This is not, this is not back when we look at 2013 or 2014 when the Yankees were, trotting out Vernon Wells and Chase Hetley and the return of Alfonso Soriano coming back there, and Ichiro in his last legs. We can look when you have a roster like that, and like Lyle Overbay, we say, look, this team just ain't good enough. You just don't have the talent to get there. This Yankee team is not the case there. I mean, even Judge with his right elbow still probably will hurt him a little bit. This is a much better team. They should be better than this. And even though you might have some guys that may not be the slickest fielders in the world, they should not be kicking the ball around. I mean, you have some like Paul Goldschmidt, former MVP type of player, former Gold Glove type of player, even making mistakes there. So it's a little just weird why they keep downplaying to the really good teams there. And of course, that really showed itself in spades. If you want to go back to the World Series against the Dodgers, but let's not get into that situation. But as for the Yankees there, they got to do a better job against the AL East foes. Okay, fine, you took those 2 games against Tampa right there, but if you want to look collectively, what they've done so far this season against both Toronto and the Boston Red Sox, they're 4-16 against the combination of the Red Sox and the Toronto Blue Jays. So the 2 teams that are above the Yankees right now, the Yankees can't touch them. They got to change that if they're going to make any push that. They got some games left in the season against those teams there, but they got to do better than that. And again, the Boston Red Sox, for whatever reason, they have the Yankees number this season, whether it's at Fenway, at here. The Yankees just can't really put a dent in them, and it's going to be a problem. So with all that being said, Michael Kay weighed in on it, and he kind of said what I would agree with. This Yankee team is probably good enough to at least make the wild card, because if you look at teams that are below the Yankees that are kind of crawling up, whether it's the Cleveland Guardians, whether it's the Kansas City Royals, the Yankees are probably better than them, and the Yankees are probably going to lose as many games to drop out of those 3 wild card spots there, just because with the Yankees schedule there. But you just worry about once they get into the playoffs, is this team going to be able to compete? Are they good enough? That's going to be the question there. Now, obviously, Max Fried there, you're still not sure what's going on with him. According to Kay as well, he was kind of asking around when he was down in Tampa. Is he hurt? Is anything going on with the blister? What's wrong with this guy? They're saying no, 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 no. So you got to take them at their word. So it could be a fatigue issue, as I kind of mentioned on this show previously in the episode. I mean, his workload has been heavy, especially early in the season. They were using him for a lot, for like 7, 8 innings at a time there. And maybe he's hitting a little bit of a wall there, where, again, you only see him going 6 innings. And again, the one little silver lining out of the Boston series is that Max Fried gave you a good outing. 6 innings, no runs, 7 strikeouts. They'd have 3 walks there. And again, normally cases that would be a win there, but of course, equally, Brian Bell also shut down the Yankees. And again, the Red Sox bullpen just held a little better than the Yankee bullpen, unfortunately for Max Fried there. But if you get into the playoffs, is this team a playoff team? Is this going to be a World Series contending type of team? Well, in this case, you kind of have to say no right there, just because of the sloppiness on the field there. But again, once you get to the playoffs, anything can happen. So I wouldn't totally give up on them. I know people are saying this, they just want to turn off the TV. They want to go to football. Week 1 in the NFL is a couple of weeks away. So I was focused on the Giants and Jets. I want to turn it off. I want to go that far with them. And again, even the crosstown rival, the Mets, have their own problems. The fans are only thinking about the same thing about that team as well. Mets are thinking a little bit of a deeper hole in the Yankees right now. Not to say, I'm not going to throw salt on them, because the Yankees have their own problems there. The Yankees still have a contention there. And again, overall, they still have a roster of a good team there. This is not a team, as I mentioned before, it's not Vernon Wells here. It's not Lyle Overbay. It's a better team that they should be better than this. But for some reason, that's not clicking in yet. Kind of last episode was all about the failure to launch. They're still failing to launch here. And again, this Boston series would have been a good starting point there. And not only they failed, but they failed miserably. And this kind of just for disgusting reasons. Again, the first guy said all the errors, the sloppiness, 4 errors, and especially, again, another one by Volpe, which we'll get into him a little bit later there, and he's just starting to hear it there. And then you lose that 1-0 heartbreaker, and then again, that third game just get absolutely trashed 12-1 there, where you don't even care about the final game at that point there. Yankees getting shut down. So not a good showing by this team right now. I don't know if they have to turn some furniture over in the clubhouse. Is Judge got to make a speech? Is Stanton got to make a speech? I don't know that, but right now the Yankees aren't looking good. Again, I still think they're still a contender there for the playoffs there, but right now, if you look at this team, is this a World Series championship team right now? I got to say no. And during this Boston series, of course, we see a new low for Anthony Volpe, at the point where the fans were starting to boo there. Big strikeout there late in the game. That was the 1-0 game then. Of course, had a brain blunder early in the game actually. And of course, the Yankees are run there. Again, hearing from the fans. And of course, people now really getting frustrated because it's kind of been the theme the whole season there. Now, look, there was a time, maybe a couple of weeks ago, his bat came to life a little bit. Remember, they had the 2-run home run game against the Atlanta Braves. They helped mount that big comeback. That was the Trent Grisham Grand Slam game there. Again, he was hitting well. And we kind of, even in this show, kind of look back, last 15 games, last 7 games. So, there were 2 or 3 weeks there where he was actually good there, but it looks like he's kind of full back, unfortunately, in a major slump right now, hitting for 1 for his last 25, and that includes 10 strikeouts. And if you want to look at his stats right now, he's gone down to 209. I mean, even when he was at his worst, it was like 218, 220. I'm at that point, like, what's the difference? He was getting a point where he's almost starting to climb up to about 230, 240-ish there, but again, has dropped down steeply, get at 209. Now, again, reason why he's a tease there, he's got the 18 home runs, he's got the 65 RBI. So here's a guy who's probably very well going to hit 25 home runs, but of course we see at the plate there, he's basically a 200 hitter, ton of strikeouts, and of course the big blow there, which you can't have at shortstop, are the league leading 16 errors he has there, and of course the big one there during the Boston series. And just overall, he's kind of been like sort of like, I think he's been the whipping boy for all the Yankees' defensive problems. Again, we see some miscues by Ben Rice, by Wells here and there, by Jazz, not being in position right, but of course Volpe making some bad decisions. Well, it seems like all the defensive miscues kind of all get directed towards Volpe. So some of it's earned because, yes, he does have the 16 errors, but I think also some of the team itself, it's just a sloppy defensive team. And it's kind of been the problem with this Yankee team, really going back almost the past, really 5, 6, maybe 7 years for a while there. They shorted up a little bit, got a little bit better there, but again, it's never been a great infield defensive team. And the last time it's been really great infield defensive team, you got to go back to maybe the 2009, 2010 Yankees when you had Teixeira and Cano and Jeter and all that there. So those days are long gone. The Yankees have not had a solid, good, strong defensive infield in a long time. time. And so when the ball does get kicked around a little bit, yeah, a lot of that is Volpe's fault, but it seems like all the blame goes to Volpe there. But of course, he's earned it there because now again, having these big errors, especially at shortstop, a real viable position. Again, he's a guy who, a couple of seasons ago won the Gold Glove, so you figure maybe he'll improve and get better there. But unfortunately, he still seems to get worse, and it's just tough to figure out. Do you give up on the guy? I mean, he's only like 23, 24 years old. He's your own homegrown guy. He's a hometown guy. You like to root for him. You like to do him well. But at what point do you put the plug there? Maybe put like Caballero in there, something like that, who maybe just has a little bit more life to his body. Maybe he plays a little better. Maybe sparks Volpe to play better. Hard to know. Or you've seen fans call for put Ahmed Rosario in there. Now look. Probably none of those two things are going to happen there. The Yankees seem very stubborn in their ways, so they're probably going to keep trotting Volpe out there. Maybe they'll address that issue in the offseason, which I kind of said plenty of times already there. So I think they're going to stick with him the rest of the way and just hope for the best. Only good thing I have to say about Volpe, he did clean up his act last postseason. Again, he became almost like a different player there. Was very patient at the plate there. Took a lot of walks. Took some bases loaded walks there. Wasn't swinging at bad pitches. So it is, if he can focus in that play, that version of Volpe could be there, so I wouldn't totally count him out there. But yeah, it is getting pretty brutal right now. As mentioned, right now in a brutal 1-for-25 slump again, and just with the errors as well, you mix it all in, a bad mix for him. But the fact that they're not going to put Rosario in there, I know Rosario came up as a shortstop as a Met, but he only played like one game for the Nationals this year at shortstop. Can he physically do it? Yeah, but I just don't think you're going to put him in there. And Caballero, yes, it's possible. But again, I think the Yankees like to have him as a jack of all trades, kind of coming off the bench as a weapon there to maybe steal a base or like an outfield replacement there. I don't think you're going to start him at shortstop. As bad as Volpe is there, it's still going to be his job to lose. So unfortunately, he's just not really. He's not really picking up. He's not picking up his game there. It seemed like it's faltering. Now, what happens is he bops the occasional home run, then you fall in love with him again. But then again, he'll have a rough 2 weeks there. So, but if you think the Yankees are going to bench him, stuff like that, they should probably, but it seems like they're not. Boone, for some reason, maybe just give him like a couple of days off. People suggesting that, maybe to sort of teach him a lesson. They kind of did that last season with Gleyber Torres when it looked like Gleyber Torres wasn't hustling. I don't think Volpe's ever been a hustle issue there. It's just a lot of mental mistakes, a lot of sloppiness there. So I don't know if Boone wants to do you sit a guy for a bad throw? Now, when a guy doesn't run to first base, that's a totally different argument there than where you would sit a guy down for not hustling there. Volpe's never been a hustle issue there. It's just sort of mental mistakes. And, of course, at the plate, they're having bad at-bats and just too many strikeouts there. So, I don't know. Could he use a day off? Maybe, probably, but I still think Boone's going to stick with them. And it seemed like the way that Boone did it and this way Brian Cashman is Boone there, they just stick with each other there until the very end. Unfortunately, it's always to their detriment. Now, if you're a Yankee fan and like Judge was hitting red hot and playing well, you figure, he's a hot hitter and he'll be able to will this team the way back into at least AL East top contention there. Problem with Judge right now, I don't think he's fully healthy. Now, we were told that during the Cardinals series, he might take the field. Well, that was a couple of series ago. Still hasn't been the case, and really Aaron Boone doesn't have an update when he's actually going to be on the field. So that kind of tells me his elbow is bothering him. Now, we've seen him hit a little bit okay. I mean, he's bopped a couple of home runs. Obviously got one in the Cardinals series and was part of the home run barrage, that first game in Tampa there. But overall, again, Judge has been even close to the Aaron Judge who started the season where he was hitting 400 and it was looked like he was on the way to hit 80 home runs. Okay, we all knew that was going to last. He was going to hit 400. He wasn't going to hit 360 or 350 there. But at least you figure be in contention maybe for the Triple Crown there. But that version of Aaron Judge hasn't been around in a couple of months right now. And I think he's a little hurt there with the elbow, and we haven't seen him in the field. And there's really no update when he's going to be in the field. Could have happened at some point there. I don't think it's going to go for him saying maybe a week ago so he doesn't play the field at all for the rest of the season there. So at some point, I think you will see him out there. But again, this kind of tells me that elbow isn't 100% and it's probably affecting him in the field there because we haven't seen him hitting the way because Judge had started the season with nothing close there. And so it's probably bothering a little bit. And it's kind of a double impact there because the Yankees' best hitter right now, probably one of the hottest hitters in baseball, is Giancarlo Stanton, of course. But the problem with him, he's pretty much relegated to one at-bat per game because obviously, if you have to use the DH spot for Judge, then you can't really use Stanton. I know you play Stanton out there in the outfield a little bit, but you can't really tap that too many times because if you throw him out there too many games in a row, I'm shocked he's doing it already, but so far, so good, knock on wood, he hasn't gotten hurt yet. But you can't send him out there too much, at 35, 36 years old, body's not used to it because he has all those history of lower body injuries there. So he's pretty much relegated to a one at-bat per game there, which is a problem because he's probably your best hitter right now. Hitting 301, which for Giancarlo Stanton, that's insane. We've seen Stanton hit below 200, in years past there. So for him, hit 301 shows he's really locked in. Pretty much every time he makes contact, context, a home run. And again, the game gets crocheted there. The lone run he gave up was a home run to Giancarlo Stanton there. So, but the only fact that you only use this guy for one at bat is kind of what's hurting the Yankees there, because if you're your hottest hitter, you can't use him because the DH spot has been plugged up like Judge, but you can't put Judge in right field because you don't want to re-aggravate the elbow. So the Yankees are on a bit of a logjam with the two guys. And again, the big man, Big G as they call him, can play the right field a little bit, but again, you can't abuse that too much there because he'll tweak something. The Achilles, the hamstring, the groin, something will go there, and then you lose your best player probably for the rest of the season at this point. There's no time for recovery on there. So got to be very delicate how you use Stanton there. But again, I'm concerned with Judge there, that I don't think he's fully 100% with that elbow because, if he was supposed to be in the Cardinal series there now, that's almost a week and a half ago or so there, and he's still not playing the outfield there. So that tells me that elbow's bothering him there, and it's probably something's going to bother him the rest of the season there. And if you don't really have a really strong A-plus type of Judge there, hard to see how the Yankees can go on a real deep, serious playoff run. Well, one Yankee who might be out indefinitely is Jonathan Loaisiga. Now, he's currently on the IL with a back issue, but because he was complaining about his, behind the elbow before that. Now it looks like he's scheduled to meet with a team doctor. That's going to be on August 26th there, a Tuesday, to determine if he needs surgery or not, which is like your hair could be raised there, because now that would be major surgery on him 2 times in the last 3 years. And again, it's not really been a good season for Loaisiga. Again, obviously, when the Yankees were kind of building this bullpen in the offseason, we were all excited, and he was just kind of be a little extra of a throw-in. Obviously, we had to wait till May, June to finally get him. We did there. But again, overall, hasn't been the same guy. Now, when you look at his numbers right now, in 30 games, 0-1. But the ERA, obviously not what we expect from him, 4.25. Now, he did have, at least he had the strikeouts still, 25 strikeouts in 29.2 innings there. So averaging a little less than strikeout per inning there. But we've seen a better version of Loaisiga in the past, where having a much lower ERA and a much higher strikeout ratio. And again, he just hasn't been the same this season. And, it'll be a little, knock off the rust a little bit. Obviously, he missed all last season. And, of course, he had to work his way back from the UCL surgery there. But obviously, you see him struggling the whole way. Just didn't seem right. So whether it's the back, whether it's the elbow, something's not fully right with him. And just the way this skin, if you want to read the tea leaves there, looks like he's probably going to need another procedure on the elbow. And at that point, you guys really kiss him goodbye. So I doubt if he even comes back for the rest of the season there, which, I don't know, again, he's another homegrown guy, not from hometown, but a homegrown Yankee there, where you want to root for him, have success there. But it's always been a bad story with him. If you remember, even back in the day, initially he was supposed to be a starter for the Yankees. He had one of the, they say that got the best, heaviest fastballs in the league there, because the highest velocity there, but always marred with some injuries, whether it was a back, a neck issue, an elbow issue. Can never get off the ground there. We probably saw the best we did of him. That was back during the 2023 playoff run there, where he was getting some of those high leverage outs there in the 7th to 8th innings, setting things up for Clay Holmes there, and he pretty much shined in every appearance he had. Didn't have any blow-ups like that, but unfortunately, you need the UCL surgery after that. Coming back this season, you would hope he could pick up on that, but never was able to recapture that version of himself there. And now you're hearing he's hurt again with this elbow situation. And if you've got to see a doctor there, that's usually turns out to be bad news there. So probably maybe the last we've seen of Loaisiga. Obviously, he's probably not done with baseball. Still a young guy overall there, but you can't see the Yankees give him another shot. I'm shocked they didn't give him another shot this season, but you figure, hey, why not? Give him a 1-year deal. It's not the worst thing in the world there. But unfortunately, it didn't seem like he was healthy the whole way, because, again, he was just struggling a lot there and getting hit around more than we're used to, and his stuff just wasn't the same there. So, fortunately, it looks like that might be the end of the road for him, at least in the Yankee uniform. Now, some other relievers working their way back. If you want to put a little positive news on there, one of them being Fernando Cruz, obviously dealing with the oblique injury. So, because his last outing was with the AA Somerset, he went 1 1/3 inning, did give up a run there, but but it looks like he's a little closer to coming back. So, he's scheduled to rejoin the Yankees during the National Series. So at least get him back, he would kind of maybe be the Loaisiga replacement, if you want to look at it that way. And Ryan Yarbrough also working his way back now. Interestingly enough, it looks like they want to make him start, so they're looking at him as a starter there. So he did have a start for the AAA team. They want to give maybe one more start before he's able to rejoin the team, which kind of makes you think, what are they thinking about? Are they looking to move Will Warren out of the rotation? Because you're not going to remove Cam Schlittler out of the rotation. He's been doing his job fine. He's just had some hard luck losses really with the offense, not picking up when they need to there. But he's overall, you would say, pitch fine for the young guy. But Will Warren is a little bit up and down now. He's always got the good stuff there, so you don't want to give up on him totally there. But he's had some games where he's been really good. But again, we've seen him go like 4 innings and get mashed there. So are they looking to take Will Warren out of the rotation, put Yarbrough in there, have this another lefty in there, and have 3 lefties in the starting rotation. Remains to be seen there. I think they would stick with Warren there in the starting rotation. Again, he is a starter. He's built to be a starter. He should be a starter there. Ryan Yarbrough, we know what he is. He's kind of a journeyman type. Yeah, he can start games, but he can also come out of the pen there. But I think I would rather have him as a bit of a long reliever in that situation. Or if you maybe have some double headers coming up in September, there was some rain makeup games. All right, then you can use Yarbrough as a reliever. So I don't think at this point the Yankees are going to use him as a starter when he returns. And the Yankees already added to the bullpen. You might have saw they went to Northern Boulevard, the junkyard and the scrap metal yard there. They picked up a guy the Mets threw off, and that's Paul Blackburn, in case you didn't notice there. DFA'd for the Mets. Again, the reason they did so supposedly to make room for Nolan McLean, who had a good start. They figured, hey, this guy's great. But the Mets startings and the relievers have been so up and down, so bad, that if you get kicked off the Mets pitching staff there, that's not really good news. But I guess the Yankees need him. Now, the excuse the Yankees gave is that he's built to go long. He's a long type of reliever, or he could start there as well. So they don't really have that type of guy in case someone like Will Warren gets his teeth kicked in 3 innings there. At least this guy could give you 3 or 4 innings. So it kind of makes sense. They signed him to a major league contract. As soon as Cruz or Yarbrough is back, this guy's going to be DFA'd again. So this is like a 2 or 3 week rental. Put my word, I'll give you my word on that one. For his last appearance with the Mets, it was August 13th against the Braves. Went 5 innings, only gave up 2 runs. Okay, again, right, not extremely terrible overall for his career. Now, this is going back to both Oakland, all those years with Oakland and the Mets here. If you want to look at his entire career, pitched 93 games, 86 of those games were started. Record of 22-31, so it got obviously well below 500. But again, he spent also a lot of time with Oakland. Those teams are terrible, all those the athletic teams there, so you can't really blame him on that. But what you can blame him on is his career ERA, 4.96, an almost 5 ERA, which is not good at all there. And for the Mets this season, obviously not good at all. 7 games, 4 of those games are started, went 0-3, an ERA of 6.85, and has 1 save there. So again, this guy's a bit of a scrap heap type of player. He'll only be here for a week or 2, so it's just kind of hold down the fort there until Cruz or Yarbrough comes back there. And again, as soon as that happens, this guy's going to be gone. And closing out with the pen is someone who we expect to be better, and we hope he's going to be better because he's going to be under contract for a couple of seasons. It's because one of the new arms the Yankees brought in, that's Camilo Doval, who has not been effective so far in his Yankee career in pinstripes here. Now, don't want to kill the guy too early. It's only been a small sample here, but we thought he'd be much better than this. He has been struggling now. Part of the reason that the Yankees got him there because he has not been probably the pitcher he was for the Giants a couple of seasons ago. I get that, but again, has not been effective so far in a Yankee uniform. And if you want to look at the 9 games he's pitched so far, he's given up runs in 5 of those 9 games there. And if you want to just look at the numbers total there, 6 earned runs in 7 1/3 inning, and that's pitching to a 7.36 ERA there. So not what you're expecting for this guy to come in who, again, this is someone who had 107 career saves going back to the past 5 years with the Giants. Now, when the Yankees got him, he was pitching to a 3.09 ERA in 47 games. Did have some saves as well there. So again, this is a guy, again, has experience being a closer. Again, he's not going to be the closer here, at least for right now, this period there. But you figure in the high leverage situations, you'll be able to come through, but has not been doing that. And again, had a big spot there in the Boston series, the first game there. The Yankees gave him the ball with a 3-2 lead there. Gave up a couple of hits as well as a walk. Ended up blowing the lead. Now, the Yankees got out of that inning with the score tied 3-3 there. But again, if you could get out of that inning cleanly with a 3-2 lead there, then you could pass it over to the other guys. Maybe the Yankees win that first game there. Now, according to him, he's still adjusting okay a little bit, but this adjusting period's got to happen a little much quicker there because the Yankees are going to need him at the back end. We all know the problem with Devin Williams there. You can't trust him at all there, but you got to be able to trust some of the other guys. Just as Bednar, who's overall been okay. He's kind of taken the close role. Overall, Weaver's not been the same as last season, but you would still trust Weaver. Doval's got to be that third guy in the high leverage innings there. But if he keeps being sloppy like Devin Williams there, then the whole the whole back end's just crumbled. So that's the episode. Make sure you subscribe to the audio podcast version of Section 420 Talkin Yankees, the podcast wherever you get your favorite podcast, and subscribe here on YouTube. So we have a whole month of baseball left there, so don't give up on the team just yet, and the Yankees can win a lot of games easily by simply not putting in Devin Williams from the 7th inning on. Very simple. We'll catch you next time.